So when you went to Power, that's when you were co-host with Nick Cannon?
Yes. I don't think that he gets the credit that he deserves. It's easier to talk about like, oh, his 12 kids or he was Mariah Carey's husband. He's an entrepreneur. That man, when he has an idea, executes. He told me he was going to have 12 kids.
Oh, he planned those?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, my God.
And he showed me how to just do everything and how he's able to do everything. I want to be like Nick Cannon, not by having 12 kids.
How do you think this social media stuff has changed a lot of like the radio industry? Do you think it's like direct competition?
Cuando pasa una tragedia en tu ciudad local, you turn on the radio, but you can't turn on Netflix for that. Turn on the radio.
Hulu?
What's happening?
No.
Hulu, Spotify, they're not going to
Yeah.
give you the answers. They're not going to be there with you, with what's happening.
This is the True Hustle Podcast with your host, JR.
This is the True Hustle Podcast with your host, JR.
I said that this morning. Like, this coffee gets me kind of like at another, it would be a good investment.
It's a drug, to be honest.
It is, huh?
Yeah.
Like, have you gone without drinking coffee for like a month?
Yeah. Like, I quit coffee all the time.
And did you
just
have
to,
like withdrawals?
Challenge myself. Absolutely. The first 2-3 days are really tough. So I'm aware of my addiction, but I'm a functioning addict.
Okay.
There's different addictions. There's people who smoke and there's people who do other drugs or, So my drug is coffee. Every morning I wake up and I have my cafecito. Actually, I'm lying. I wake up and I have my green juice. I take my kids to school. We have our green juice. We say our affirmations. We do a prayer. Then I drop them off and I go pick up my coffee. And ya llego a la casa and I become productive. Then I go to, it's this schedule I have.
Okay. Do you think it has, since you drink it so much, at this point, do you think it's like a placebo effect?
Yes.
That you think?
No.
You think that you're like...
That I need it?
No, you think that it's really doing something to you when it's really not?
Have you had cold brew?
Yes.
Does it do something to you?
I haven't had it in a while and it fucking dude. I ain't gonna lie. Starbucks isn't paying me for this, by the way. That shit had me like a fucking visionary. Like, all right, we're gonna do this and we're gonna fucking do this. And that's why I'm oh man, it got me.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And people always tell me, have you done the math? Have you? And I'm like, I have, but I just
think everybody's...
Let me live. Déjenme comprarme mi cafecito. I work so hard. Like, I work hard. I'm a good mom. I'm a good person. Let me fucking have my coffee. Oh, can we curse?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Hey, I was watching one of your interviews, right? And I'm like, I always try to find something that we have in common. And we have a lot of things in common. First of all, a mí no me invita nadie a ningún pinche lado.
No one ever invites you anywhere?
I'm like, what the fuck? And then you were like, I don't know, is there something wrong with me? I'm like...
It's probably that
why?
America jacket you're
probably,
wearing.
Yeah, I would figure they want champions around.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't follow any soccer teams. My dad. I hear my dad. No. I don't watch any. Todos mis like teams that I go for.
And I kinda like them only, kinda.
I heard. Oh my God.
Damn, fool, relax, fool. And we're from Guadalajara.
You are?
Yes. I know, that's weird. I blame my dad.
What happened?
I don't know. My dad's the only one.
And your dad's from Guadalajara?
Yeah. And all my uncles son 10. So all my uncles are Chivas and my dad's the only America fan.
Huh.
Since he was a kid.
So you like to fight?
I don't know. This guy likes going against the grain, I guess.
Yeah.
And now, like, fuck, why couldn't we just be on? I don't want to say Chivas. No. So, radio. How does somebody just develop that want or need to? I mean, I think growing up, like, we don't say, oh man, I can't wait to be on the radio. Like, was that the case for you?
Kind of, but not really. I always wanted to be in the entertainment business. You remember watching Sábado Gigante with all the little kids and, stuff.
El Chacal.
Yeah. So I always thought like, oh my God, I can't wait to be on television. And I would cry. Like my mom would, me regañaba or something, and I would run to the mirror, like to see myself cry, like look for my best angle. Like
how dramatical?
Yeah. So I always knew that I had, something
Ciérrala, güey.
I always knew that I had like something to do in the entertainment business, and radio was just the first way in.
That's dope.
Yeah.
But how do you just apply for
To-
like a radio spot? Like,
Yes. So
how does that process look
well,
like?
it depends. I feel like there's a lot of different ways in. You can go to school for journalism, communication. You can major in that. You can do sales. You can know someone and get in. I started from the bottom. Now we here.
That's right.
So I applied on online to be part of the street team. So like the people who set up the tents and give out the flyers.
Okay.
And sometimes, you know, when you walk into the store and you see the radio station there and, you know, for Verizon or AT&T, Cricket Mobile, whoever hires the street team and we go play music. And so I think that really helped me kind of build my fan base, kind of get to know the people, my audience. And so, yeah, I applied and I got a job. And then from there, things moved on very quickly. I was like, okay, so I'm on the street team. I want to be on air. And I moved up the ladder and now we're here.
So I was gonna ask that. So you start as a street team.
Yeah.
And then you have to
Work your way up.
like work your way up and then be on.
Yeah. And like learn, right? Because everything, I never knew how to be on the radio. So working on the street team taught me, you know, priceless lessons, how to speak in front of an audience. And if they're not being receptive, how do you make them be receptive? So our job back then, I don't know if things have changed because it's been 10 years, but our job back then was, I'm going to give you these pair of Disney tickets and you're going to be there for 2 hours. And for those 2 hours, you have to build a crowd, keep them there, and at the end, you give them the reward. So imagine you going to the grocery store, you're in and out, you don't have 2 extra hours to stay. I have to entertain you to such a point where you stay and give me your 2 hours or your half an hour, because maybe we might have a little bit more prizes, you know? So I learned that. I learned how to have 2 pairs of tickets and make people stay for an hour, give them the reward, and then the other hour. And I had to have a crowd because you have to take pictures and take it back to the boss and say, here, I did my job. And so I learned that. I learned how to retain the customer. I learned the client or the listener, the audience. You know, how to deal with people, how you just learn how to talk to people, how to handle them, how to read them, how to make them feel wanted and invited and hang out with me. When you just went to the grocery store for some, you know, pack of tomates or something. So
fucking Valentina or Tapatio.
I just needed some salsa. And so, yeah, I learned a lot, some very valuable lessons in being in the street team. So I wouldn't change that for anything.
But you have to possess that skill.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think anybody could just go do radio. Like, you have to possess that skill of, like, you have the ability to communicate well.
Yeah.
The ability,
Well,
you're a people's person.
You learn it. I think I think you can learn anything. Like, I remember my first time, shout out to the guy that I was working with. His name is Nate Jackson. Now he's in Oregon. He does things for Oregon University. Mm-hmm. He's a teacher also. And I remember one of my first gigs, I was like, what do I do? And he was like, here. And he gave me it was a Little Caesars pamphlet, you know, como te mandan cupones. Mm-hmm. And he goes, here, talk about that. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, what do I say? And he's like, you just say what's on the paper. How? What are you talking? Like, I just couldn't wrap my head. Like you said, I couldn't wrap my head around, wait, what? And now I've practiced so much that I can talk about anything. Anything you point at, I can talk about it and I can entertain you with it. And it's just a skill I developed, but it was obviously taught. I didn't walk in there knowing and being a chingona at it, you know? Me daba mucho miedo to see the microphone and, you know, te lo pasaban. And obviously there was people who were working on the street team before me and they were monsters. They would kill it on the mic. You know, véngase señora, venga, you know, los boletos to Disney, whatever. And I was like, oh, how do they do that? And then eventually I learned. So you just practice. You got it. Like this whole podcasting thing, people are probably like, how do you do it? It's so hard.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's easy.
I just sit here and be myself. But, you know, it has its challenges. But
I think so. Yeah.
But for the most part, I'm trying to be 100% genuine. And this
Yeah.
is who I am. Like, what you get here is what you get.
right.
You know?
And that's important.
Absolutely. But I think you're very skilled.
Thank you. Thank
You know,
you.
like,
It's taken.
I see some of your stuff and I'm like, she was born with it.
No.
But she just, you know, practiced and made it really good.
Yeah.
Your first job on radio was with Power 106?
No.
Or which one was it?
So when I started doing the street team,
Mm-hmm.
I was in the elevator and I ran into some man and he was just asking me, where are you going? And I was like, oh, we're going to the street team and we're going to hang out this and la, 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 or we're having a conversation. And I think I had been on the street team for like 6 months. And then maybe a couple of days later, I get a message saying, the PD wants to talk to you. And at that point, I had no idea what even a PD was. A PD is a program director. So he's the one who says what music goes on the radio, who goes on the radio, what interviews. He's directing everything. He's the boss.
Really?
And so they said he wanted to see me. And I said, okay, that's cool. That's great, right? I've been on the street team. When you're working in the street team, sorry, but you don't get to see but your people. Very rarely you run into like the bigger bosses. If you do, that's amazing. That's really good for you to build that.
So the street team is doing all the work in the streets?
Yes.
So you really don't go up to the station
No,
or...
some stations you can't even go in the studios.
Ah, God,
You can't even walk around and mess with the talent because
Really?
you're a street teamer. And
Oh,
you're out there in
shit.
la calle.
So
you're
when you
putting
said
in
I
that
started
work.
from the bottom,
I
like-
started from the bottom.
Damn. Fuck. All right.
And so in the elevator, you know, luckily the company I was working for, they were really good. You can go in and you can pick at the radio host's brain and platicaban contigo. And it was a great place to work at and to start. So then I got a call and they said, hey, he wants to talk to you. And I didn't even know who this guy was. I said, what's a PD? Well, PD is the program director. He's the boss. He's heard about you and he wants to see you. So I remember I walked in his office and it was the guy I had run into in the elevator.
The guy that was asking you all the questions.
The guy was asking me all the questions was the PD. I had no idea.
It kind of was an interview without you even knowing.
Yeah, right.
Damn,
So
all right.
he's just like, I saw you in the elevator and you had that like, I want to work and I want to echarle ganas. Have you thought of being on La Raza, which was a Spanish station? And I was like, okay, like Spanish? I could do Spanish. I could do anything, you know? Sure. So he goes, okay, bring me a demo. And I was like, okay. So I remember I ran to one of the studios and I said, what's a demo? And how do I make one? And everyone was so amazing. And they're like, okay, ahorita te ayudamos. Say this, that. Build a story. Talk about this. And I walked in there. I did the demo in all Spanish. Mind you, I'm like English. I know now my Spanish is perfected. But back then it was very like no sabo pocho-ish, which it still kind of is, you know.
Which is normal
But
because...
for a regional station, back then, 10 years ago, it was unknown. You had to speak 100% Spanish. Now, we're in a place where, bienvenido, you hear them sometimes, they're even speaking Spanglish. But back then, it wasn't a thing. Back then, it was
You're right.
100% Spanish. And if you didn't speak it the way they spoke it, it was like
An insult?
an insult.
Really?
So I go in there, I give him my demo, and he says, okay, I'm going to send you to the person that's in charge of La Raza. He's like the whole boss. But then there's, there's this
Okay.
boss for this station, this boss for that station. So I go and I sit down with that boss and I give him my demo and he hears it and he goes, okay, yeah, we'll call you back. We'll let you know.
Oh, what does that mean?
I knew exactly what that meant. I knew exactly. If you hear something and you see it and you're not like, chingon este es, right in front of me, it wasn't. I remember walking out of there and I was just like, oh, fuck, it's my Spanish. It sucks. So I got in the car. We went to go do a street hit. And my friend Nate was like, you're not going to give up that easy, are you? Like, he said, okay, yeah, we'll call you back. Get your ass back in the booth. cut another demo and send that shit again. Like, okay, you gotta know, like, go do it again. And I'm like, it's just my Spanish. He goes, okay, so for the next, it was like a Thursday. He goes, so for the next couple of days, only speak Spanish all day. Puro español. Until it feels normal, like it's natural. Just Spanish. And that's what I did. And Monday, gave them my new demo. And then they were like, okay, you start Sunday.
Ah, no way.
And I was doing Sundays, and then I did Saturdays, and then they said, do you want to do the overnight shift from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m.? And I said, yeah. And I did 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. for a couple of months. And then they said, do you want to do the morning show as a co-host? Yes. So then I was doing 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. and then 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. I was doing double shifts at the station. One on La Raza and then the other one in the Spanglish station at Mega for a while. And, you know, one thing led to another. But I started on a weekend on La Raza, 97.9 La Raza, all Mexican. They're like, what are we going to call you? You need a nickname because in Spanish radio, they usually give you nicknames. So you need a nickname. And I just developed this whole, I couldn't be one of them. I knew that. And so it was like, I'm going to be your daughter. You know, I'm going to be the little sexy neighbor up the street. You know, that little crazy young girl with the crop tops and the jeans and the botas. Like, I'm going to be her. I'm not going to be you, las señoras and los señores, you know, but I'm going to be the daughter that can help you with your phone and tell you about all the cool stuff. And
this is how you text.
yeah, these are emojis, you know?
This is an emoji.
No, and it worked really, really well. And I still have people till this day who come up to me and say, are you puppies? And they've followed or listened to me, you know, for a really, really long time. And so I'm very blessed by that. But I started on La Raza. And then from there, I did Spanglish. Then I went to Power, and now I'm on Cali. So I've been around.
So when you went to Power, that's when you were the co-host with Nick Cannon?
Yes.
And how was that experience?
It was amazing. Nick Cannon, I don't think that he gets the credit that he deserves, or I've never really seen anyone give him his flowers. I think a lot of people lo critican. It's easier to talk about like, oh, his 12 kids, or he was Mariah Carey's husband, or her, you know, some people are like, oh, he's corny because he's funny or he's cheesy. I don't think that Nick Cannon gets the roses that he deserves. He's an entrepreneur. Es un chingón. He creates things. That man, when he has an idea, executes. Cuando él te dice algo, it's happening. Like,
Damn,
I don't think I've
really?
ever said, but he told me he was going to have 12 kids. So now that he has 12 kids,
Oh, he
I'm
planned
like,
those?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, my God.
He told me one time, I don't know if I'm supposed to share, but here it is. He told me, I'm going to have 12 kids. They're going to be like my 12 disciples. He told me. How many kids does he have? 12. Everything that man says he's going to do, he does. And he's a creator. He's not just like waiting for someone to come and give him an opportunity. That man is creating opportunities for everyone. And he puts you on. And it was just such a blessing to work with him. And I learned a lot. I was very, radio influence. Like you come in, you do the work, like just radio culture. And he showed me how to just do everything and how he's able to do everything and how he manages and how to move and how to work. And all the lessons, I use them now. Like now I find myself in the studio and I'm doing 10 things at one time and I'm being productive and I'm doing this and that. And I learned that from him.
Because he operates at a different level.
Different, never complains. Never complains. You will never hear that man complain about anything. He says, I am blessed to be a blessing to others. He's on a different mentality, you know, and it rubbed off on me 100%. Nunca, he doesn't complain. Dime lo que quieres hacer y luego me dices cómo lo vas a hacer. You know, figure it out.
But that's how you have to think.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's why, you know, he's really successful because he operates that way. It's not by coincidence
It's
that
not.
he's, you know.
No, or like even when something bad would happen, he would always say, like, you don't fight darkness with darkness, you fight darkness with light. So even when someone's talking crap about you, or you're having a rough day, or whatever it is, give them love, give them light. Because, o sea, si te bajas tú a su nivel de ellos, then you're both in darkness. Like, that doesn't make sense. And just little gems like that I learned. I remember I used to say, I want to be like Ryan Seacrest. You know, like, that was a goal for me. I want to produce. I want to be on television. I want to be on radio. I want to do all these things. And after working with Nick, I'm like, oh, shit, I want to be like Nick. I want to be like Nick Cannon. Not by having 12 kids.
I was about to say, damn, girl.
No. But by creating my own products and putting my people on and putting people that I believe in and helping others. You know, he's like an Adam Sandler. Dang. And no one ever says that about him. And so I think, like, that's really important. He's an Adam Sandler for his community.
People choose to fucking see the other side. Oh, que esto, y que el otro.
But they're very, like, they pick and choose who it's with, right? Because it's like, have you heard of Ryan Seacrest? And every time you think of him, you're like, oh, ese güey es un chingón. You know, he creates things, a productor, and he's everywhere. And he has money. How can we never say that about Nick?
Yeah.
So they're very selective about who we give our flowers to or who we admire. And obviously, you know, there's some things on the way that you're like, oh, he said this or whatnot. But he's quickly became one of my, like, a mentor, whether he knows it or not. I look up to him, I admire him, and I took a lot from him. And he's really shaped Melissa 2024. So I was very blessed to work with him. A blessing.
That's good to hear, because I think people are quick to be like, no, que este hizo esto y el otro, but seeing this side, and it's not like it's not hearsay.
Yeah,
you experienced it.
Yeah, firsthand.
And that's dope. And I'm interested in see how people that are really successful on how they operate and what their daily routines are like.
Yeah,
because it's not by coincidence that, you know. And it's interesting to me. That's why I'm like, oh, shit. Write down some notes.
I once read that, like, Oprah didn't become Oprah. Oprah's always been Oprah, you know? And I was like, what does that mean? And it's just like, you don't start giving or you don't start being positive once you get more. You know, you're that way, period. You are a giver, period. You've always been a giver, even when you didn't have anything. You are kind. You didn't become kind once you started getting all this because, it's easy. No, you always were kind. So I think, like, starting from the bottom and keeping that in mind, it's like, who are you? Money's just going to accentuate who you are, heighten it.
Absolutely. It's going to magnify all your, who you really are.
Yeah.
You know, and those tus efectos, you know, they're going to get amplified.
Right.
So people think that money is going to bring you happiness.
Solve all your problems.
Y tienes todo. Va a solucionar todo.
And it's not that way. Like,
absolutely not, you know?
Especially like a business, owning your own business, that also fucking puts like a magnifying glass on who you are, things you need to work on, tus defectos. Like, you're like, man, I spent all this money? Like,
we're just talking about that shit
earlier. Soy gastalón? Like, what? Or maybe you're too giving. Maybe you give all your money away. Maybe now you have a business and you're putting all your family on. You're giving everyone fucking money. And you're like, wait, this isn't good either.
¿Qué pedo? Aquí dice que puro pinche sell.
Yeah. No. Right? Entonces, having a business, leveling up really magnifies whatever you are.
Yeah. And yesterday I had a bad day.
Why? What happened?
No, I just have a lot of things. You know, I have a lot of shit going. And then I was like, you know, I always say, I made a video about, like, if you're going to quit, just quit for the day and then start over again. Just because you have a bad day doesn't mean you're going to go quit everything.
Right.
You know, those are the challenges of being an entrepreneur, self-employed. It comes with a lot. And yesterday, I think I was like full.
Yeah.
So I was like, chingue su madre.
What were you full of?
I think first of all, I had to manage the office. I have my own real estate deals going on. I have to get this going. I had to get my content because I do content for my personal page, real estate, and I still do this. And then I think I'm a control freak sometimes, and I need to have control. He's probably laughing now. like I need to have control, and then when things don't go as planned, then I get a little bit like overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But I identify what I do wrong. And I'm like, all right, back up. It's not that serious. And I don't want to complain. And I think yesterday I complained, and I didn't like that shit.
That you complained.
Yeah. And I'm like, dude, you get to do this every day. You get to do what you enjoy. Just because this didn't come out as planned. Well, guess what? That's what's going to happen.
Right.
But I have to be honest with myself. I have to understand that there's going to be good days. There's going to be bad days. How do you deal with your bad days?
I go home and I cry. No.
Yes.
I'm not too hard on myself. I think bad day. I've gone through a lot really rough days. So bad days to me are no longer considered bad, if that makes sense. Yeah, like I say, what's the worst that can happen? Like, you know, we recently closed down our juice bar. We opened up a juice bar in Sierra Madre. I have a juice company. And we're like, we're going to open up a juice bar. And we're going to have different juice bars everywhere, right? And then we decided it's not working. It's taking too much money, too much the overhead cost. I know I'm talking business right now. But basically, it was a decision to shut it down. And a lot of people are like, how are you doing? Are you okay? Like, because I'm closing the doors of my business. And I'm just like, everything's okay. Like, yo siento que yo ya he pasado por mucho que todo estas cositas, no pasa nada. What's next? What's next? What's next? Do I have bad days? Yeah, I snap at my kids sometimes. I'm on a short fuse or I'm late to work or things like that. But I feel like I just take everything in stride and we keep it pushing. And that's how I get through it. Maybe I ignore it. Maybe it's a toxic trait. If there's any therapists out there, por favor, márquenme. Pero I'm like, okay, como dices tú, we'll start again tomorrow. No pasa nada. No pasa nada. Oh, que el contenido no salió así. Chin su madre, súbelo. Súbelo. Edítalo como puedas, súbelo. No, que at the station, que un pedo. No pasa nada. How can we address it? How can we fix it? Así? Okay, chingón. Like, I just look for the solution. How can we address it? Never happens again. Y ya.
And I think I'm always solution-based.
Yeah.
I look for solutions for everything. But I think ayer I was like, chinga su madre. I don't want to think about it. I don't want nothing. I just want to go home. Yeah. Like, I want to go home, relax, and I get to do it all over again today. Because we're blessed to wake up and be able to
do this every day. I know. What
and the thing that I hate the fucking most is when I complain. And I felt like I was complaining yesterday. And that's not cool. This is a privilege.
I mean, I think you're right. It is a privilege. But you are human. Like, don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself a moment to say, esto no me gusta, no quiero esto, I didn't like that, I feel uncomfortable. Like, let yourself feel and process the emotions, but don't stay there, you know?
Yeah, no. And I always want to have those small windows of the negativity that goes on here. I don't want it to be a week. I want it to be like fucking, a very small window. And allow myself to be human because as humans, we are emotional. Right. We are emotional. So our emotions get up and then we start thinking all kinds of
pendejadas.
Puras pinches pendejadas that we shouldn't be thinking.
Right.
And that's when I try to be like, all right, dude, there.
Yeah.
Yeah, güey.
Okay.
Ya párale, güey. You know, like, come on, dude.
Let's keep it pushing.
You got Melissa Rios mañana, güey. Cálmate, you know? I'm like, I have
Thank
to
you for inviting me.
Oh, well, man, we appreciate you being here.
It's a nice studio. Me gusta.
Thank you.
My studio is in my backyard. So this is cute. I like it. This is awesome.
Thank you. Anything you need,
Don't
equipment,
tell me, because I'll be here.
And any equipment that you need advice on, girl, just let me know.
No, I need a studio. Cállate. Las cámaras hay cara los micrófonos. I need the studio. The space. I think a lot of people, that's what they're struggling with. When they shoot their podcast is space.
I'm probably gonna do a third one,
Oh, that's good. Rent it out.
and that's what I'll be like. All right, whoever wants to come in here could do it.
Paguen y lo hagan.
Yeah. Chingado.
Ya saben.
Paguen con jugos.
It's right. Oh, yeah.
So from Power 106, after you were with Nick Cannon, then what came next?
So after that show ended, it came to an end. I got moved to Cali. I now do the 2 to 7 there. I'm doing the afternoons.
What?
And we just been there for 3 years. 3 years, I'm very blessed to, como dices tú, every day. Every day I get up and I do what I love. I get to talk to people, create content, and just work on my craft. Now I'm ready to do more on-camera stuff. I'm ready to take that next step. I feel like I've done everything in radio. Okay, it's fácil. I could do it with my eyes closed, with one hand. So I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I'm always challenging myself. And so I think I've conquered everything that I wanted to in the radio industry. And so, okay, ya estamos. I'm ready to drop the anchor and then move to something else, add something else to my list. So I'm working on that.
Like, how do you think this social media stuff has changed a lot of like the radio industry? Do you think it's like direct competition or like?
I think
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think if you make it be competition, it can be. I'm really looking forward to it being integrated, like together.
Yes.
And we can do it effortlessly. I feel like we're, for example, in our station on Cali, we have Angelica Vale, which she's a huge star, and if she's obviously behind she's always on camera. So social media wise, it's like, use her. Radio content on the internet goes hand in hand. Creating content is our thing. So with me also, like, I'm good in front of the camera and I'm ready and I know how to do this radio stuff and we can just incorporate it. I think it has definitely changed. I know a lot of people say like, oh, radio changed and it's not what it used to. Of course. It's just like TV changed. How many people watch regular television? A lot of times all you do is stream. When you finally sit down, you're watching Netflix. But ABC7 is still there. Yeah. KTLA is still there. And
Univision.
And it still has its audience.
I used to watch Cristina.
There you go. Primer Impacto. You know what I mean?
Bro.
And then they're icons, right? And I think you could still do it. It's just it's different and we need to adapt just like everything else in life. Either you adapt o te pierdes. Los DVDs, los, Redbox and Blockbuster, o te adaptas o te pierdes. And I think that's where we're at in radio. But, the ratings are still there. They're still checking our ratings and the audience is still there and we're still doing our thing. And I think we're just going to ride it till the wheels fall off. Will it ever fall off? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Why? That's a great question. I'm glad you asked because cuando pasa, and I've said this a lot of times, but I'll continue to say it, cuando pasa un accidente, cuando pasa una tragedia en tu ciudad local, you turn on the radio. You look for people. You can't turn on Netflix for that.
Yeah, you're right.
You can't. The traffic está parado, the 210, una tragedia. Where are you going to go? Where are you going to go for that? Turn on the radio.
Hulu?
What's happening?
No.
Hulu, Spotify. They're not going to give you the answers. They're not going to be there with you, with what's happening. So I feel like, it's changing 100%. It's not what it used to be. Neither is television. Neither is a lot of things that we're used to. But I see it working together, and I think it's amazing. Before, radio personalities had like a different personality than who they really were.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't know if the guy was married. You didn't even know what he looked like. You did it. Was that, I didn't know what
right.
el cucuy looked like until I was like fucking, you know, in my teens. I was like already working, and I'm like, whoa, look at this guy. I didn't know that was the voice behind it.
Este es el pinche cucuy. Ay, güey.
And, you know, my dad used to listen to him. So that's how I knew, you know. And so now I'm like, I'm very blessed that I get to be on Instagram Live and TikTok Live and doing my radio show at the same time. You know? So I take full
I
advantage.
think it works perfectly together.
I think so too. I take full advantage. There's people who are driving and aren't on the phone, and then there's people que están en el trabajo and they're just like, you know.
I think it works. I mean, for me, I had to adapt to all this.
Yeah.
Because when we were growing up, I didn't have, I'm 40. So this social media stuff is kind of new. And even in my business, in the real estate business,
It matters.
man, does it?
But does it help?
Hell yeah. So then, but I was so old school. Ni madres. I don't need that. Until somebody was like, well, you're going to get outworked by that 21-year-old doing TikToks.
100%.
And I was like, okay, I won't do TikToks dancing, but I'll adapt this way.
Yeah.
And it was the hardest transition.
What advice would you give? Oh, here, I'm interviewing him, huh?
Vámonos.
Well, what advice would you give business owners, right? Because I'm in the industry, entonces yo te puedo dar todos los consejos, but that's because I'm in the industry. I'm in the entertainment industry. So for me, it's of the essence to be on these platforms. But for you, for the 40, the 50, the 60-year-old who's in real estate, who is un mecánico, or has a regular mundane job, what advice would you give them with social media?
Somebody told me this. They said, before it's not what you know, it's who you know. I think now is who knows you.
Un aplauso.
Si le hago para el radio, ¿qué pedo?
No, that's
It's
really
just,
good.
we're in a time where social media, you could scale your business and you could give yourself the exposure, you could scale it, and you could reach the masses.
And you can educate.
Educate. You could do so much, and at a press of a button, hit 100,000 people. And then to put it in perspective, like us realtors, like how many doors can you knock? How many flyers can you send out? How many people can you call in 1 hour? 20? Well, you could do 20,000 in fucking 30 minutes. So to better answer your question is do it. Get on there. You don't need any, I've said this before, I don't want to sound like I'm always repeating myself, but you don't need any fancy equipment. All you need is your iPhone 13, 14, whatever. Get a little mic. Boom. Educate.
Yeah, practice makes perfect.
Yes.
Try it.
You should see
do
some
it.
of my first videos.
Put it out there. No, I
like this. Like, see? You know, like I was no expression. Like, dude, just do it and just be you and have fun with it. If you're not having fun with it, then
and people can pick up on that you're not having fun or that you're not enjoying
Yes.
it, and yeah.
so it's like, to me, it's like, what's the alternative? Go knock on 100 doors and talk to people and not being able to scale it, or be able to scale my business
Right.
and just let it do what it does. You know? Do you think it helps out, like your podcast and your social media presence? I'm sure it helps out your ratings too, right? Because people go listen to you on the radio as well.
Yeah. Some people would say it's backwards. So it's like, because she's on the radio, they go to the podcast or whatnot. I think everything I do it goes hand in hand. I'm very blessed to have my fan base who is so ride or die. It's funny, I was on the phone with a friend the other day, and he's like, your fans remind me of Selena fans. Like, it doesn't matter what you do, they just go and consume, and they're there. They're like authentic. It's like they're there because it's you. And that made me feel really good because I really do try. I mean, obviously, como dices tú, it's natural. It comes easy to me. But I really do try to be as authentic as possible. I've turned down many deals, many endorsements, a lot of money because I'm like, that doesn't resonate with my brand. I wouldn't use that. I don't want that. Why would I promote this to my people? Why do I, weight loss tea or powders and stuff like that? And not because it's like, well, I have a juice company. No, like everything I do is very curated to know that it's the best. Even when I did my merch line, is this the best quality? If I put it in the dryer a couple times, se va a hacer feo. If I recommend something, it's because I really do. If they're paying me, ay, gracias a Dios, bendito sea Dios, and it's a bonus. Pero cuando te recomiendo algo is most of the time because I like it, I use it, I would use it. I think it's a good product. So, I feel like my podcast, my juice company, my radio career, and everything else that I've done and will do, they follow and they go because they know it's me, it's authentic, and it's real. I always try to keep it that way.
But I think you're right. People could tell right away. And I think that's why people are loyal to you. Because it's aligned with how you are. You're not going to take a brand deal because they're giving you a nice,
to each their own.
Yeah.
A veces si llegan con un chequecito bonito, de $10,000.
Pues a ver,
sure.
I'll try this tea.
Yeah, But I've never, no me hace falta. Gracias a Dios. I have my full time, which is my radio, which is my bread and butter. I have my business. So nunca me ha hecho falta un endorsement.
Gracias a Dios.
Gracias a Dios. Nunca me ha hecho falta ese dinero de ese deal. So I have no problem saying, no, I don't like it. No, I don't want it. No. Or no, I'm not going to talk about that, or no, whatever. But I know that, again, it's my privilege. I'm speaking from privilege, so.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
You do all these, you have full-time job, you do this, you do that. Let me ask you this. Let me put it this way. A ver. Do you believe in balance?
I recently said it on another podcast, and a lot of people were like, there is balance. How come men don't get asked that question? Have you ever done an interview and anyone's ever asked you like, hey, how do you do it all?
I made a video about it.
How do you, and it's very like, that question always get asked to women. How do we do it all? And it's like, if you miss a basketball game, it's like, well, he's working. If I miss a basketball game, it's like, what a bad mom.
Oh, that double standard.
It's like a double standard thing. If you're at the park with your kids, it's like, oh, what a good dad. Look, he's with the kids at the park. If I'm at the park with the kids, it's another Wednesday. Like, we don't get the recognition that we deserve, and we go above and beyond. So I think like balance is we do what we can. I'm very blessed. I have a family, my husband, my mom, my sisters, that are just there for me, and then also work. I gotta go to a basketball game, and they're like, okay, and I know that a lot of mommies don't have that. So mommy guilt is very, very present. So with the word balance, sácate de la cabeza que hay balance. Sometimes you're gonna miss things. Sometimes no vas a poder, and it's all about quality and not quantity. A lot of times we think of, oh, no estoy con los niños. I only saw them en la tarde, or I had to go to work and I missed his basketball game. Okay, mija, entonces cuando salga del trabajo, pick up that kid and take him for ice cream, look him in the eyes and say, what made you laugh today? What was your favorite part of the day? Push him on the swing, go down the slide with him. Quality. We obsess over quantity. How can I do all of it? How can you do what you can the best you can? That's what I've learned in my process, like in my journey. Porque no puedo hacerlo todo. Mi casa un desmadre. Ustedes me ven bien bonita, bien arreglada. La casa es un desmadre. O me baño yo o limpio la casa,
Oh, sure.
Or I go get a pedicure and my nails done, or, I took the kids to get a haircut. I have to pick and choose, So I pick and choose according to my priorities, and then I just make sure that I spend the best quality time with those that I love. And sometimes we get distracted. The phone is really hard to put away. Really
tell me
fucking
about
hard.
it.
And work, because you're a business owner and you work on social and I'm always like this too.
So how do you stop from doing this? I'm struggling with that
Yeah.
now. So maybe you could give me some pointers. 'Cause
Well, you're asking the blind leading the blind. No, pero I've made it a conscious effort to like give myself a time. Like I even caught myself sometimes watching movies with the kids, and I'm like, while I'm watching the movie, you
Yes.
know? And it's like, imagínate el niño que te dé la vuelta para decirte algo en la película y tú en el teléfono. It's those little moments. I currently caught myself también at my kid's basketball game, and I'm like answering an email. And then I look up and he's running back looking at me. And I'm like, oh, it was just an email, I swear, son. But they've really helped me. My kids and my husband, they keep me like, you know,
yeah, my wife is the one that I'd be like, hey, dude.
put it away.
Seriously,
So maybe
just
getting
stop.
home and you have a place for the keys. Have a place for the phone. And tell yourself, cuando llegue a la casa de 5 a 7, undivided attention. It does not matter. The world is falling. It does not matter. Like, it's okay. De 5 a 7, those are 2 quality hours.
Yes.
Like 2 hours to have dinner, to talk, to hang out. Ya a las 8, métete a bañar y ya te sientas tú for 30
Yeah,
minutes.
because I feel like, we post on True Hustle like around 5. So the time that I'm going home is the time that the fucking phone is going
¿Y
off.
qué pasa? ¿Y?
So just turn that shit off. Huh?
¿Y?
I know.
¿Y?
I find myself trying to be sneaky.
Yeah, me
Like
too.
doing the,
Yeah.
oh, fuck, this shit's doing good.
Yeah. But why
Doing
does
that.
it matter? It's going to be
Exactly.
doing good at 8.
I'm just like,
It's going to be doing good at 8. So set it and forget it. Give yourself that time. Like me,
I'm working on it, but
Yeah.
it's fucking hard.
and have accountability. I'm telling you, my kids keep me, and ya llego a la casa, so I pull up to the house like at 6:37. Sorry. And I'm like, okay, I get in the car, I pull in, I look at my phone one last time, and I'm like, okay, sent this text message, lower it, put it on do not disturb, and I walk in and I put the phone down. Look at the clock and I'm like, okay, a las 8:30 se meten a bañar, están, y ya me siento yo, and I can pull out my phone. It just,
That's dope.
you just have to be, accountable for it. But it's hard.
I'm gonna have to start doing that.
I've gone to sleep at like 3 a.m. because I'm on the phone. So I'm just like, and my husband's like,
Damn. You're like,
you're
hey,
still up?
duérmete.
Yeah, duérmete. I'm like, you're not my dad. But it's hard. It's a real addiction. Like, my kid, he's 13, and I have yet to give him a cell phone and allow him to have social media, because if I, who am 33 years old, is addicted, what do you think that's going to do to my 13-year-old son? If we can't put the phone down because we want to see the comments, or we want to reply to an email, or we want to, what do you think it's going to do to my kid? So I've been holding off from phones, from social media, from access. I cannot.
So when you do give them a phone, how do you regulate it?
So when I do, I don't know. Yeah, I haven't. But I feel like timers, you can put a timer on your phone. Like it's like sleep time and it shuts down. So I'll probably do that. And then I think I'm just going to regulate social media. So when he has a phone, he'll have it. But I don't think I'm going to allow social media for my son yet.
What do you think is a good age for them to?
16, 17.
Sounds about right.
I got MySpace when I was 17, 18. And if I went back to look at las pendejadas que yo subí, 17, 18, qué pena, güey. So it just, why would I give my son that? Do you know what I mean? Like, are you the same person that you were, you know?
Hell no. I thank God we didn't have freaking social media when we were 17, 18. Ya me imagino las
posted some
puras
stuff.
pendejadas that we would be posting.
You know what's funny? I took my kid to the park on Wednesday, and there was this little girl. She looked about 7 years old, and she was wearing this little crop top, like, and some jeans. Very cute little girl. Pink lipstick. And she was going down the pole of the jungle gym with her iPhone 13, and she was taking video, and she was looking for her angles. And she was going down. Angles? She was like, and she was going down the pole of the jungle gym. Then she went down the slide. So she was like vlogging, I think, what she was doing. And I thought to myself, fuck, this little girl's 7. She's outside.
Damn.
She's not looking at the trees. She's not running, looking at the sand, playing with other
Enjoying
kids.
herself.
Enjoying herself. She's taking video of herself, enjoying herself, but she's more focused on the video. How many times do we as adults do that? I don't blame the little girl. Where did she learn that from? Well, who made that acceptable? We did. We do. I'm at a concert, and instead of enjoying the concert, what am I doing?
I have a question, Taylor.
Yeah.
Like, just playing devil's advocate here, right? Because the future is social media. What do you think you're helping your children, or you're hurting them by delaying them that exposure to social media?
I think that it can be looked in both ways. That's a good question, right? Am I hurting him by delaying social media? Maybe I am, but I am hurting his social skills, but I am maintaining his mental health. So I guess, again, with the balance it depends on what you believe is important. I believe mental health is more important than knowing how to edit a video and posting and saying I'm here, or maybe making some money off of social media or his business. Do you know what I mean? I need my son to be mentally, physically, and spiritually healthy. And I don't think that social media is a place for that. If you use it wisely, yes, because social media teaches us so much, right? But you have to have that willpower to get out of that. Porque social media te enseña más negativo que positivo. Social media te enseña más. It depends on what rabbit hole you're in, right? Everybody's TikTok's feed is different. Mine is real estate, Tony Robbins, and cooking. You know, and yours can be cars, and it can be. Entonces, how do I control that with my son? I feel like just not having him in there until he develops his personality, what he likes, what he wants. That way he chooses what rabbit holes to fall in.
That's a great point.
Do you know what I mean? And then la niña es una niña. Like, to me, I was like, man, I wish she was playing. I wish she was enjoying going down the slide, because now I'm 33, you know, and I'm like, I just want to go down the slide and not have that
I want to have fun at the park. Like a regular.
And not have that worry. But I also saw a lot of myself in La Niña, because again, I said, what did I say? When I was young, I wanted to be on Don Francisco, and I would look at myself in the mirror. And so I was like, that little girl's got the spunk that I had. And, you know, and so it's maybe not at the park. You know, I don't know.
It's a great valid point. And I think, so it made me think, and I'm like, okay, how does social media impact their mental health? Like, do you think, because it is negative, and if it impacts us as adults,
right,
sometimes we're like,
or that person has something I don't have.
You
Sometimes
know?
it's not even negative. Sometimes it's just what you have. Like, wow, look at the studio. It's so pretty and it looks so good on social media. And look at me, I'm just starting. Is it good enough? Am I good enough? Look at how good he is at talking. Look at it. He has so much personality. And here I am struggling to fucking bring my phone out. And I think it depends on how you see it also. Oh, mira, él es un chingón. Yo quiero ser como él. It can be used as motivation, but it can also be seen as yo no tengo lo que él tiene. Makes me sad. It's very personal. It depends on how you see it. So that's why I say it's perspective.
Well, you're right.
So with my kids, I want to make sure that I build them up to have the right perspective and then expose them to everything. That's what I want. I want my son to be happy for people and to be a happy person, y que le eche ganas, and to have good work ethic and to meditate and to exercise. And that way when he sees someone doing what he wants to do, he says, oh, que chingón. Instead of, oh, poor me.
Yeah, and I think all that starts at home.
Yeah.
Starts with you, starts with your husband, because I think their minds are so young and they're like sponges, right? They're
Yeah.
learning everything on how to communicate, how to express themselves, how to do from A to Z from you and your husband.
And by
You know?
watching.
Yes, and
like,
by
I think
watching.
a lot of times we think que con decirles, we've done our
No.
job.
No.
And it's like, no, como tú eres, tu hijo te está viendo. Like, your kids are watching you. And that has been tough for me because I have a certain way of being. And recently, and these
I
are all
think we
things
all
that
do.
and for example, he shows me something like, oh, do you like this cup of water? You know, I like it, but is my thing. I like it, but do you like this video? I like it, but my outfit right now, if you ask me, Melissa, do you like your outfit? Like, I picked it. Oh, yeah, I like it, but. And so I recently realized that my kids are watching me say that. And so I've had to do a 360 shift in who I am. Not pretend, because even when you don't think they're watching, they're watching.
They watch everything.
Everything. After dinner, I always tell my husband, thank you for dinner, and I give him a kiss. My kids are like, do you ever buy dinner? Because I always thank him. But I'm like, I want them to know that when they're in a relationship, receiving thanks and being kind to one another is normal. Physical affection is normal. I apologize to my children all the time. I'm sorry if I made you feel that way. I didn't know that that's what happened, because I want them to understand that apologizing is normal. It's just things like that.
And that's why for me, like, I keep, like, me and my wife never really argue. I mean, what couple does not argue? But, like, especially in front of them,
Right.
it's never going to happen. I'm like, give her the eye. Like, we'll talk later.
Yeah.
You know,
Más
but like,
saber.
because they're seeing, like, our interactions, we normalize certain interactions,
Right. I argue
in
in
their
front
brain.
of my kids.
you know, and I try to keep that
Do-
because I don't want them to feel like, oh, this is normal.
I actually want my kids to think discussions are normal. So that's why I do it. O sea, no tan bien de que avientas cosas.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
let me backtrack a little.
So we
like,
have
I'm talking about,
disagreements.
like,
Argue-
vete a chingar
Yeah,
tu
no.
mano. Like, that's what I mean. Like, because
I
we're
don't-
going to have disagreements and
Yes.
we're going to articulate, everybody gets to articulate their points.
Good.
But I don't cross that line where it's like,
Boundaries,
well,
yeah.
Well, first of all, we don't curse at each other. Like, pinche pendejo.
No.
Like, we're not. There has to be those boundaries of respect. And because I know they're watching. Like, I mean,
Right.
even if they weren't watching, we don't talk to each other like that.
Right. That's good.
So that's what I meant.
Yeah,
Because we're
good.
going to have arguments like
Discussions.
me with, my arguments are always with food. I mean, our discussions. Like, you didn't ask for extra onions?
I want to.
Like, I order the same thing every time. Like, que pedo, you know, like
Yeah.
that type of. And my daughter's like, Daddy, we have onion in the fridge, but it's different.
It tastes
when it
different.
comes.
From In-N-Out.
Really, Daddy?
In-N-Out's
Really?
onions are
You know,
different.
and I'm like, all right, sweetie, okay. And I give in a lot now.
Yeah, it's your role. You're a dad.
You know,
You
and
have to.
especially with my daughter, I give in a lot.
How many kids do you have?
3. So I have a 21-year-old.
Oh my goodness.
Well, he's gonna be 21 in June.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you for making me feel old. Boom,
No.
cheers.
I think it's a great accomplishment. To have a 21-year-old, olvídate, what a blessing.
21 and 9 months.
Oh my goodness.
And 9.
9 months.
So I'm fucking everywhere, all over the place.
Yeah.
So I had him, and when my son holds his brother, like, what the fuck? Yo estoy viejo and I get to start all over again. But the dad I was to my son at 18, 19 is
different.
completely different of the type of parent that I am.
Do you feel guilty sometimes?
Yeah.
Oh.
I processed that already.
Yeah.
Because my son wasn't talking to me for quite some time. But now he's, you know, I gave him his space. So now we're trying to, you know, I'm all in on his UFC journey. I'm like, let's do this shit, you know? So there is no, I understand that I wasn't as present as I should have been. You know, and especially since he's from my previous relationship.
Right.
But I processed it. I try to, you know, so now we're working on it.
That's important.
Absolutely.
That you're working on it, that you've spoken to him, if you've apologized to him and you've heard him out. That's really important.
I've heard him out. I understand. So now I'm like, I'm the one, you know, his dream is like he loves to fight. He could fuck somebody up. You know, he's good and he's a big kid. So I'm like, all right, well, you're going to do this for fun or we're going to fucking get you to the UFC? Like, for me, I'm like, no, for fun, ni madres. Like, let's go. And he's like, so, you know, he was here and I told him, don't give up on your dreams. Let's go. I'll support you 100%. But you have to give it your all. And that's where we're at now.
That's good. That's amazing. I can't wait till my kids are 21 and, you know, we're helping them achieve their dreams
Yes.
and setting them up because that's ultimately who it's for.
Yeah.
You know, my mom got me here, crossed the border, left her family, did what she had to do to get me here. And now it's my job to, like, you know, provide for my children and make everything possible for them. So that's a blessing.
And I think taking in consideration everything that I do and perspective once again, it's like I'm doing all kinds of shit, right? I do this, I do that, I run my business, I do that. What good is that if I'm not pouring into the biggest investments that I have?
Right.
My children. Is that crazy?
Yeah.
Like,
No, that's what you're here
like,
for.
you know, ¿qué chingados me gano to be leaving here like yesterday stressed? If I'm not pouring into the most important thing in my life,
Right.
my children. So, how do you deal with that? Like, how do you deal with being the best parent that you possibly could and then juggling what you got going?
I mean, being a parent is hard. Like, it is the hardest job out there because no vienen con instrucciones, you know, and then the way your parents were with you, you can't even take from that because most of the time you want to do it completely different. You know, my mom me pegaba or mi mamá no venía or what, we all have our story. Unless you're very blessed and you're like, oh, I had the best parents ever, but they were really strict. You know, they didn't let me have sleepovers or everybody has a parent story, you know? And so you always want to be better. So I just think that that's how I do it. I try to be the best parent that I can. And I remember that they're my little humans. Like, they're not mine. Like, yeah, they're mine. I made them. And my job is to feed them and to, like, guide them on the right direction and pour into their little cups as much as I can faith and things that I feel are of the essence for them to grow and be good people. But at the end of the day, ellos van a hacer lo que ellos quieran. And they're going to be the kind of person they want to be. And all I can do is teach them right from wrong, give them all of the tools while I'm trying to learn them myself, parenting them while parenting myself, you know, figuring my emotions. Earlier, you were like, oh, I complained yesterday and I don't like complaining. And I was just having a bad day. And it's like, and then you still have to go home and parent your kids. It's hard. It's
hard.
really tough. I want to have a baby sometimes, and then y luego me acuerdo, and I'm like, mi madres, otro, no. Because they're humans. Like, we think, like, they're our kids. No, you're raising a human. Literally, this human is gonna go out there to society, and then they're gonna, it's hard. It's a lot of
fucking
responsibility. But I'm very grateful. I'm very blessed. And what I do is I try to educate myself and see the things that I would have liked, things that I would have appreciated, and listen. Listen to your kids. They'll tell you. Yesterday, I told my 6-year-old, how can I be a better mommy to you? Like, what are some things that you would like for me to do? And he's like, I want to have a yes day. And I'm like, well, what do you want to do on your yes day? I want to eat pizza and I want to go to Disneyland.
I love pizza.
And I'm like, well,
I don't like Disneyland.
we're going to Disneyland in 2 weeks. Okay, what else? I want you to take me to Target and buy me everything I want. Okay, but that involves money. What else? And then ultimately, después de so much digging, he says, I just want you to go down the slide with me at the park.
Oh, man.
So I take my kid to the park often, but I don't go down the slide. So on Wednesday or yesterday, I discovered that Mateo, for me to be the best mommy for Mateo, I need to go down the slide with him. And I only got that information because I asked him and I was having a real honest conversation with him. So a lot of times we think like parenting is telling them and guiding them. What about talking to them and listening to them? They'll tell you what they need, what they want, how they feel, how you can help them, validating them.
I'm going to try that today. Let's see what she says.
No, I'm telling you, primero era a lot of compra, take me. And I was like, okay, what else? Okay, if we do have the...
So it's like you got to dig.
Yeah, because,
They're kids.
They're kids.
Yeah.
Shit, if you ask me, if my husband tells me, how can I be the best husband ever? No, pues, el Mercedes que he estado queriendo. So you got to dig a little deeper. And then eventually it's just like, baby, can you just take out the trash without me telling you? So I think asking them, that's how I try to be the best parent. And apologizing, I'm really big on apologizing to my children. Like you with my firstborn, things were tough. Things were really tough. And I wasn't the same mom that I am with Mateo. And I know that he sees that. I see it. I feel it.
Do you think he resents you for it?
I'm sure.
I felt that.
I'm sure he does. And that's when those conversations and the hugs come and I apologize and I say, I'm sorry I've never had a 13-year-old. I'm sorry that I reacted that way or that I did this. The most common scenario or explanation I can give you is Mateo's 6 and he wrote on the wall. So when that happened, I saw it and I said, I went, grabbed the magic eraser, gave it to Mateo. Mateo, do we write on walls? No, Mom. Go clean it. He goes and cleans it. Do you want paper? Yes. Okay. We don't write on walls because it makes a mess. But with Isaac, 13 years ago, I was sleep deprived. I was a single mom. I woke up from 4 hours of sleeping to me having to rush to put my shoes on and have to drop him off. And I was going through a lot. I wake up and there's crayon on the wall. What do you think happened?
Oh, you blew up.
I blew up. And I beat his ass. And I made him clean it.
A limpiar, cabrón.
And he remembers that 100%. So when he sees me handling Mateo, what do you think he feels? Of course, resentment. Of course, sadness. Of course. So at that moment, I had to pull him to the side and say, I am sorry for the way your mom treated you when you were 5 years old and you wrote on the wall. I'm sorry that I did that to you. I'm sorry that I yelled at you. I'm sorry that I hit you. I'm sorry that I made you feel like a bad kid. I apologize for that. If I could go back, I would go back, but I can't. At that moment, I never had a 5-year-old. You were my first 5-year-old. You're my first kid. I thought that that was the right thing to do. But because I did that and I saw what happened and I saw the way you felt and I saw the way I felt with this one, I'm going to
make the changes.
Change
right?
it. But it doesn't take away that it happened. I'm sorry. And we've sat there and we've cried and I've heard him. And, there's no excuse for things. A lot of times as parents, we try to give our kids excuses like, oh, es que yo esto, lo otro. Like, you just have to sit there and take it. Even if your kids want to curse you out and tell you what a shitty parent you were and how you hurt them or whatnot, you got to take it because you were.
Yeah. I agree 1,000%. I apologized to my son and I told him, like, I'm not taking it back. I can't take it back.
Yeah. And you also can't get tired of apologizing.
And I'm like, so I told him how I felt. I told him we could start now. That's when he was 16. He was acting up. I'm like, we could build on this relationship now. I'm sorry for...
Right, X, Y, and Z.
But it's just, I can't take it back. I can't. It's done.
I'm a big believer of therapy.
Absolutely.
I go to therapy. My children go to therapy. I go to
And that's
therapy
great.
with my children.
Together?
Yes.
That's dope.
Yeah. I'm like really big on.
How does that help you heal? You think it brings the bond? Like, how can I say it?
I think por más de que uno, como por ejemplo, like you tell your kids, talk to me, I'm here for you. They don't want to hurt your feelings. So everything they tell
Facts.
you is still with a grain of salt. Do you know what I mean? And so they need a safe space to talk. They also need a safe space to tell you how they feel. And then you also need to learn how to communicate. Por más que tú pienses que you're really good at communicating, or me, and that I have healed and that I figured it all out, I haven't.
Still learning.
And so it's a safe space for everyone to communicate how they feel, to address the issues, and to move forward. So that's why I think it's important.
And how do you think some of that behavior of you being a young parent stems from your childhood?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And that's where your therapy comes in. So you need therapy, they need therapy, we need therapy. Because you're your own person, they're their own person, but then we're also coexisting. So that's why I say therapy, therapy, therapy. Pa ellos, pa ti, separados, y luego juntos. Because even like in a marriage, my husband and I have totally different ways of parenting and coexisting, and even just ideas. Being a blended family es un pedo, güey. Un pedo. So imagínate, you're trying to handle it by
We're
yourself.
speaking the same language. Like,
It's hard.
that
It's
shit is tough.
tough. It's just the hardest thing ever. So, I mean, to me, it's like, how can we move forward? You just said you're like super solution based.
Yeah.
But your solutions might not be what's best for the other party.
Yeah.
The other party doesn't agree
it's-
with
and
your
it's
solutions.
hard
To accept.
To accept and then trying to come up with a bigger
Plan.
solution
Yep.
and a bigger plan.
And so when you go to therapy,
You know, like, ándale terapista, dame las pinches answers.
no, but when you go to therapy, they get into, why do you think that's the solution? And you dig deeper, and then you see, why do you think that's not the solution? And you dig deeper, and you see, and then you understand. And I think the goal is to understand. It's not to fix anyone, it's to understand, to heal, and to move forward.
You think you understand how your parents treated, how your parents raised you a little bit more as an adult?
Yeah.
And now you're more like,
I give them grace.
I understand now. Like,
yeah.
damn, like,
I don't agree with everything my mom and my dad did. My mom, my
me
dad.
neither, by the way, and they watch every single show. I don't agree.
I don't.
Okay.
My mom and my dad got divorced when I was like
En español,
8.
chingao.
And so to me, that was like a thing. And I don't agree with the way they did things. I understand that it shaped me to be who I am, and it helped me.
Mm-hmm.
But with my kids, I'm just trying to do things a little different.
How do you think the divorce affected you?
Well, I don't think the divorce affected me as much as the alienation affected me. So when your parents get divorced, you automatically feel like you have to pick a side. And unless you purposely make it a point, going above and beyond to make the children feel like that is not the case, the kid is going to feel it. The kid is going to feel like they have to pick a side. Unless you fucking le echas ganas y, hey, compa, ¿cómo estás? Da, 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 da. And most of the time, it's not like that. Most of the time, it's not like that.
It's not.
Que ella tiene novia nueva, que she moved on, and because you're human and you're going through a separation, the kids can see your face. The kids can see how you feel. They can sense it. They can react to it. So to me, the hardest part was the managing my parents' feelings. Because I felt like I had to pick a side. I picked a side, and it caused me and my dad to not have a relationship for many years because I picked a side.
You picked your mom's.
Of course. Don't we always?
Yeah. Man. And you were how old?
I was 8.
So an 8-year-old.
So as 8 years, yeah.
Did you feel like, man, I don't know what that feels like. So I'm just trying to get an understanding of what an 8-year-old, how an 8-year-old would process this. And
You feel like you have to protect. You feel like you have to. So one, you have to choose. Like, I really like you, but I have to choose. And then I can't like you. So I have to go from liking you. Yeah, so I have to go from liking you to like not liking you or protecting.
And do you feel that you felt that way because of how all the turmoil in between your mom and your dad?
Right. Because they never did. My mom never told me, don't go to your dad's, don't like him, don't. But you pick up on it, whether they directly tell you or not. You see your mom stressed out. Maybe they're having a ugly separation. Maybe your dad left her and she's bitter. Maybe, do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many different scenarios that aunque tú no le digas personalmente al niño, no vayas, no lo quieras, we pick up on it. And I did, and I made a choice, and I picked my mom. And I think my dad and I didn't like reconnect till I was like 17.
And how was that?
My dad's just always been very easygoing. My dad's just very like, it, and maybe that also, you know, he has some responsibility to do with that. Like, how do you just let your kid leave you, you know? But my dad didn't want to force anything. So it's like, it's a lose-lose. Imagine forcing the kid and taking them to your house y no quiere estar ahí. Or, so my dad was very like passive. My dad's always been passive. He's very, okay, let my mom get away with murder. So that's how he was even with parenting.
Okay. So from 8 to 17.
Yeah. It's a long time.
That's a big gap.
Big gap.
No. Hey, apa, ¿cómo está?
Yeah. No, yes. My dad would still pick up my little sister to pick, because my little sister's 4 years younger. So my dad would pick up my sister. My dad lived with us for a really long time, mind you. So my dad, when my mom and my dad got divorced, he started sleeping in the living room. And he would take care of us still. He would everything. But our bond
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying.
was not me. I'm just not listening
like you
to
have
my
that
dad
wall.
anymore. That wall.
Because I'm loyal to my mom.
That's right. I'm a ride or die for my mom. And my sister, she was younger, and so she's with my mom and my dad. Boom, 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 back together. Years. By the time I was like 12, 13, my dad finally was like, okay, these girls are big enough. I can move out now. My dad moves out. All that time he was sleeping on the couch.
Oh, my God.
So, moves out. When he moves out, every weekend, my little sister, he would go pick up my little sister. I wouldn't go. I don't want to go.
So you would just say, no, ni madres.
No, I'm not going. He would take my little sister to the park. They would go to the store. They would go eat. I would not.
Shit.
I'm not.
And when you did reconnect at 17, you were more receptive? Like, okay, I need my dad.
Yeah, and I was just like, I like my dad. He's pretty cool. You know, I like my dad, and he
That's
gave me a
dope.
car, and he, you know, yeah, I'm
What kind of car?
17 now. It was a bucket,
Oh,
you know,
that's
but
right.
and he would give me money, and you know, my dad was just my dad. Hey, pa, I need $20. Hey, dad, can I do this? Da 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 da. Sure.
Sí, mija, ahí te va.
Vamos a comer. My dad would go buy me In-N-Out. Like, at first, it was like a money thing. I needed money, so I was like, let me call my dad. Dad, I need money. Because my mom was like, no te voy a comprar nada, or no te voy a dar, vayas a trabajar.
Dile a tu papá que te compre los pinches tenis.
Yeah. And I would call my dad. And he would, my dad, sure. And then after that, I was like, well, let's go eat. Okay. Y ya poco a poquito. Oh, my dad, my car's not working, Dad. Here, take my old car. Oh, great. Or that. And then it started. And then I got pregnant And then it was like, Dad, I need you to watch the baby because I got to go to makeup class or and my dad was always there. He never was unavailable.
I trip out on this, so I have to ask you this. How are your parents with your kids?
Oh my God, they all have, sorry, I'm hungry. They all have a different relationship. For example, Mateo, which is my youngest, they love Mateo, but Mateo's mine, if that makes sense. Like, Mateo's my baby, and Mateo won't even sleep over my mom's. Like, he goes for a little while, and he's just like, oh, Grandma, I want to go home. My mom and my dad would pick me up. Like, my husband and I have gone out to dinner or something, and Mateo's FaceTiming us. What time are you going to come pick me up? Where Isaac was my mom's. Because I had him when I lived with my mom, and I went back to move. I'm sorry, I went back. I had him so young, and I moved to my mom's, and I was a single mom. My dad and my mom stepped in a lot.
And helped you out.
And helped me.
Same thing with my oldest.
So, Nana Leti they're like this. Like, for his birthday, Nana Leti showed up and was like, we're taking you to buy the PS5. And everyone's sending Isaac money. It was ridiculous. Isaac got $1,500 for his birthday. And it might not be a lot, right? But everybody was calling little Isaac to send him money to whatever. And Mateo is like, nobody else gets that amount of love and money. Isaac is es el compa de todos. But that's because he's the community's child. But because my village had to step in.
To help you.
To help me. My sisters, él se quedaba a veces, yo no lo miraba por 2-3 días. Se quedaba con mi hermana y luego mi mamá lo recogía y luego mi papá lo llevaba. But because I would leave early in the morning, go to work, go to school, come back, he was asleep. Leave early in the morning, go to work, come back. Entonces, hay veces que yo no lo miraba. Entonces, Isaac lo estaba cuidando mi hermana, lo estaba cuidando mi mamá, mi papá. I would go to class. My dad would have to give me rides to class, and they would sit outside y comiéndose una paleta, una nieve, los dos, and they would go for a walk. It has a different bond, you know? Where Mateo doesn't have, he has that with his mommy and his daddy, you know, but.
I see the interactions with my parents and my kids.
They're different.
And I'm like, what the fuck? You never hugged us like that.
You learn.
¿Qué pedo? Like, it's just a different bond, and I think they're like, those are different parents.
They are, but so are you.
Yeah, you're right. And I trip out. Like, I'm like, I love it though.
Yeah.
It makes me feel great because we didn't get that from them, and I'm just like, mira, ay mi niño, I love you. And I'm like, the fuck, you never told me that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
My mom with Isaac, very affectionate. Te amo. Like, they tell each other, okay, te amo. Sorry, which is more than I love you. You know, and I'm like, when the fuck did I love you? This is crazy.
You start feeling like, you okay, ama? Like, you know?
Yeah, more affectionate. But it's a blessing. I'm very blessed. And, you know, parenting and having a business and having a job and everything is a balance, but I wouldn't spend it any other way.
That's dope. And I think everything that you've been through, and you look back and you know what to do. Like, I think at some point, you don't know what you don't know, but now you know.
Yeah.
And now you could make those changes, and
now I know better, so I do better.
Damn, that's what I'm talking about. Any advice you would give to any, not just young girls, you know, young girls.
Birth control.
Anybody that wants to get into radio or wants to do the things that you're doing, like, what advice would you give them?
I would say, échale huevos, and mindset is everything. When you decide, first you have to decide what you want to do. When you decide what you want to do, mindset is everything. So make sure that you are okay up here, because people are going to come and tell you no. People are going to tell you why not. People are going to tell you how to do it, what to. So you have to be right up here. I really believe that once you fix in here, everything else is just a projection. Entonces, wherever it is that you want to be, whatever it is that you want to achieve. Échale huevos, work hard, and, you know, make sure that you're okay up here. Decide qué es lo que quieres hacer y todo se puede. You just got to move towards that. Y échale huevos.
Échale ganas. And where could people find you? Where could they follow you? Where could they listen to you on the radio?
So,
all the good stuff.
You can tune in from 2 to 7 on Cali 93.9 Monday through Saturday. You can also check out my stuff at I'mMelissaRios.com. I'm Melissa Rios on Instagram, on TikTok, and you can go buy your green juices at organicjuicedude.com.
Let's go. There
Thank you for
have
having me.
Melissa, thank you so much. This felt like a therapy session.
You're welcome. The first one is free.
You know, like I always say, this is like, especially after like a day like yesterday, I come in here and I'm like, well, this is why I do it. You know, I get to sit down with great people that have similar interests, similar upbringings, and we get to talk and just let it all out. And,
what a blessing. Look at us.
And I thank God that He always puts great people like in my path. So
no, thank you for inviting me, and hopefully 2024 nos invitan a más cosas. But
Dios
also
quiere.
we need to get out there and go and, you know, me
You know
invitaste.
what?
Look, I'm here. We got to get out there and network and make it happen.
you know what? Que nos inviten a más lugares también.
Yeah,
I know
invítenos.
that we gotta stop. We gotta put our best foot forward
We're going
too.
to show up. Invite us, though. Invite us.
Public service announcement. If you invite me,
We're there.
I'm fucking there.
I'm
so,
the plus one.
so,
Sorry
so-
to the wifey.
Yeah. So we're not. I'm gonna stop not showing up. I'm
Yeah.
gonna start showing up. All
He
right.
promises not to wear the jacket.
Yeah, and I'll wear a cheat. No, not cheat. No,
Un polo,
a Laker,
una
you
vaina.
know, something. But
Bye,
thank you
guys.
so much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you, and we're out. Boom.